Welcome to the Right Hype podcast, where we talk about hype culture done right. My name is Gavon, brand strategist and content creator. Join me as I explore the pulsating world of hype culture with unflinching honesty and the dire necessity for sustainability and inclusion. If you want to follow along this journey, please visit www.gavonowen.com/righthype. Thank you and enjoy this episode. One thing, before we dive in or whatever, I remember exactly when we met.
Same.
I was carrying a bunch of groceries
Yep.
into the building, and we live in the building where there's you need 2 keys to enter in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you helped open the door, you saw me struggling, you helped me. And I remember being like, you are literally love in action. You are literally the first interaction was love, right? And I did not know that our friendship would be so rooted in love, so quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly, it was wow, this is a person who understands how to love and receive it. Because as much as you were giving it, I was like, let me give this girl back love. I need to show her love. It was so good. But it's so interesting because who knew that we would be here talking today?
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I remember that interaction as well too. And I just remember being like, oh, I haven't seen that place in the building before. And then I remember helping you with the doors and the conversation started. And it was instant.
Yeah.
It was super fun. I remember we laughed. And then we exchanged contact information, and the way that our friendship, and even more than that, our kinship expanded, has been so beautiful. To coming over to watch Housewives of Potomac together. What we're doing right now is literally what we do Sundays.
Yes.
We'll come here, we'll sit, we'll check in. And so I am just so grateful for that moment that it's allowed me to have someone that's not just a neighbor, but a friend and a kin. So very much thank you. And you are also love in action. In order to recognize love, you have to be love. And so
God is love.
Amen.
God is love. For the people listening, they don't know who you are. Who are you? First, last name, where are you from? And incorporate kind of what you're wearing right now with this.
Yes.
I feel like you as a being, you need to introduce yourself
real
quick.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, well, let me take a sip of my tea because sipping tea and chai is very much a part of who I am. So I am Veronica Lorya, and I think it's very important for me to say my middle name. I'll probably get emotional in this, and that's totally fine.
I love it.
I was named after my mom's sister, Veronica Lorya, who unfortunately passed away. I never got a chance to meet her. But the story in my family is that I look exactly like her. I act exactly like her. My cousins, her kids' nicknames for me is actually Mummy, because I look so much like their mom that that's their nickname. And so and my Elera is from my tribal name in South Sudan, which I'm from the Lotuko tribe. Shout out to Lotukos. Yes,
oh,
yes.
Rep yo say.
Yes. And our village is in the mountain, and so very much all of that. And Elera is also my grandmother's name, my mom's mom.
Oh, wow.
And so those are two powerful beings that I feel like I am so blessed to even carry, just even parts of their DNAs in me. And their stories are just beautiful. I was born in Kenya. My family left South Sudan to Kenya during the conflict in South Sudan. Um, and I lived in Kenya for maybe like until I was like 5, 6. And then we moved to Erie, Pennsylvania. It's also important to mention that my father passed away when I was younger. And so I grew up mostly with my mom. And like that's still very much like part of my identity. Just like I love my mom so much. She obviously named me after her sister, but like there's so much of like who I am is attributed to my mom and like her strength. Um, I am a sister. I'm the youngest of 7. I'm the baby of the family. Sometimes I feel like I'm the oldest, but I'm the baby of the family. My mom had 3 boys and 4 girls. My brother Judas unfortunately passed away to leukemia. Um, this was before the same year. He passed away April. I was born in July. And so um, that's still like also part of like my identity and just like who I am and my family and like the close knitness. Um, I am I am someone who loves sports. Like,
yes, I know you love sports.
Please, honestly, don't let the outfits or whatever fool you. As you see in my home right now, I got a basketball and a soccer ball right there. Like I'm ready to go. Like and I love team sports, and I've learned so much about myself from team sports, from my coaches. Um, I am someone who has been mentored, and I have so many incredible mentors who've spoken life over me and who've created such like a, a pathway for me to succeed. But I'm also a mentor to amazing people in my lives. I'm an auntie. I love my nieces and my nephews. I'm Auntie Vera, I'm Auntie V, I'm Auntie Veronica. Like I'm truly in my African auntie era. Um, the piece that I'm wearing today, this is in South Sudan, Sudanese Arabic. This is a jalobia, um, and it's something that you wear in the house or outside of the house. Um, and it's something that I've been embracing in my style as I've gotten older. Um, Moving to the US from um, Africa as a kid, there were parts of my culture, my identity, and also my cultural style that I was a little bit embarrassed of as a kid because I was trying so hard to assimilate. Yeah. And now I see this and I'm like, this is beautiful. Like, this Gorgeous. Is ease, this is comfort, this is style.
It's rich.
It's rich. It's rich. I sit at home just like this. If anybody's ever been to my home, you know I have a uniform.
Yes.
And this is very much a part of it.
It's a uniform of comfort.
Yes.
Of home.
Okay. Okay.
Softness.
Okay. Please. 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 Yes. You know, and I there's so many parts of me that's still left unexplored. I'm a friend.
A good one at that.
Oh,
a great one.
I'm a friend. And I love my friends, and I'm romanticizing the mess out of my friendships because there's romance everywhere in life. I am an employee. I work in fashion, and I work in the top fashion house, in my opinion. I am love.
Yeah. Girl, you gave me chills. I'm like holding back the tears because I'm so proud of you. Like in more ways than one.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you for carrying your heritage, and I'm proud of you for overcoming whatever things that were holding you back from truly expressing your roots, because I feel like that's something that we all share, like as we are either we are immigrants ourselves or
Yeah.
even first generation immigrants. I mean, my parents were both born in Jamaica
Okay.
and came here and had me and my little brother. But when you grow up in these spaces,
Yeah.
it's completely different from when you walk outside your door. Like your home is almost like a satellite of the motherland,
Yeah.
and it's like its own island, so that when you leave the island, you're all of a sudden in wilderness, it feels like,
Yeah.
and you're kind of like figuring out your identity, and your identity is so wrapped up in America, like, society's structures that it like places on us. And I'm just proud because as as I mature, I'm finding that a lot of the answers to who I am lie in my past.
Yeah.
My mom and my dad and my little brother and my sister and like my family, all like a lot of the answers to who you are and where you come from and where you're going and the heart that you have, the
Yeah.
you know tenacity that you have, like it's all rooted in where you came from.
Absolutely.
That was your launch pad, and so
Yes.
it's important. It's really good to see you tapping back. What is going on in Veronica's life right
Yes. I am like steeped in gratitude at
now?
the moment. Um, and the sniffles you hear is not necessarily allergies, but like I'm like crying because I'm so grateful for a multitude of things. So I've been doing a digital detox, and I started that on February 14th. Usually for Lent, I try to give up something, whether it is social media, whether it's drinking, whatever it may be, and just really using that moment to like pour into myself and trying to reset. Last year was the first time that like I completely went off the grid, off social.
Mm,
Um, this year's the first time that I'm doing both, um, like no alcohol, etc., and social, and using this time to write, and using
wow.
this time to just like reflect, to be steeped in gratitude, and like finding ways to just live life in the present. So I'm calling this like Plan B, BE, and just like being here.
Whoa.
Um, and it's been amazing. I told you that I am going to be doing an open mic night tomorrow. Finally, I'm stepping out of fear into faith. Reached out to my friend and, asked to be put on the lineup. I've never done anything like this before.
Mm.
Um, and so I'm just really grateful that I'm in a space now that like I can just I can feel the limitless being that I am.
Wow. That's like so interesting that when you give up certain things, it makes room for
Yeah.
other things to take root. What what made you want to go to open mic? Like
Yeah.
what was like this is the time?
I've so for the longest time, like people would people always say like, "Oh, like how did you come up with that?" Like I will say something, be like, "You're very quick with that. Like you're very like witty or something." And like I never connected that with writing. Um and writing has always been an outlet for me in a way where I have like tons of journals where I'm sitting there like pushing the pen, like upset I write, happy I write,
Wow.
sad I write, um or I'll even like do voice notes and like send messages to my future self and be like, Veronica, it is March so and so and here we are, and like I'm just like releasing through words. um and so in this digital detox I finally am like able to like put some structure on it, so I don't have all of this like all of my little like patches of work in these different like mediums.
Mm.
um and then I found my old Tumblr.
Come on, Tumblr. The Tumblr is like
uh,
archival art inspiration.
yes, I found my old Tumblr. And I was looking at things that I was reposting and writing about 10 plus years ago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so profound, but I didn't even understand like like I didn't even understand what I was writing to the full extent. And now I look back on it and I'm like, this is like healing me now. And so in a way, I'm like, was I writing like a prescription to like today's ailment like back then? Like
Wow.
it's insane. Some of the stuff that I was writing, and I've even realized that too, where I'll go on like Instagram archives and like it'll be on this day, Instagram or Facebook, it'll be like on this day 7 years ago I wrote this or whatever. And then I'm like meditating on like what is happening in my life on this day today, and it's the same exact thing. And I'm like, what? Like this is what I needed.
Wow.
It's been so incredibly powerful.
That is
It's
amazing. First off, I love that you do voice notes
Mhm.
because um, mediums of expression can elicit different things out of us. Whether
Absolutely.
you're writing, whether you're talking, whether you're in movement, it's all a part of like this human release, like
Yeah.
creative release or spiritual release. And I just like how you're willing to explore different styles of expression.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like style comes into conversation in like sometimes very surface level ways, but like for you, your your style is prolific, right?
Yeah.
You are truly not just only speaking life, but like writing life and manifesting
Yes.
your life.
Yeah.
And that is just such a testament to who you are as a person, truly. Um, and we're going to get into more of that later, but I just love how I'm able to also learn more about how your style expands beyond just the physical manifestation in clothing, but that it's in the way that you speak
Yeah.
and it's the things that you write.
Yeah.
And it comes full circle to
Yes.
be this person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I actually in one of my journals, I found a bucket list that I wrote when I was a teenager and I kept it. Um, and it had a list of things that I wanted to accomplish, 40 things. And I still have it and I'll show you.
Oh,
Um, and I've accomplished maybe over half of those things already. It's literally wrote those things and there's some things on there that was like, I mean, I was talking about wanting to work in certain like parts of the world or like seeing certain countries, um, and to be able to put pen to paper
mm.
and like co-create my future in a way, and to be so expansive as a teen. First, I'm like, okay, Veronica, this penmanship was on point. Baby, if there's one class I was getting an A in, was handwriting. Okay.
Okay.
T's were crossed, I's were dotted. But like, I've really been able to see my life like manifest. And I go back to that often and I'm like, I really, I really manifested
Mm.
this.
So tell me more about what you are doing now. What is a typical week like for you?
Yeah. So I work in the fashion industry. And so in my role and working in partnerships, I'm developing and creating relationships on behalf of the brand and with the brand. Um, and, working on some really cool programs and initiatives that's making really sustainable changes in communities. And so I like to say, like, what I'm doing is not hard work, it's heart work. Like,
Mm.
I'm able to see the differences, whether it's in lives of my community or lives in my like work and like employees and my colleagues, etc. And like working on an amazing team where we're all heart workers, and we all lead with that. And so, from like a 9 to 5 perspective, like I'm being filled in that way.
Oof.
And then,
That's so rare.
yeah.
Yeah, keep going. But
Yeah.
that's so rare to be
um,
fulfilled by 9 to 5.
and then in a 5 to 9 perspective, I am in a season of learning who I am, and being reintroduced to different parts of myself that maybe um, I dimmed in past, like due to past experiences, traumas, etc. Um, but also finding out parts of myself that I didn't even know existed. Um, and so I'm really trying to just like, a week for me looks like being curious and trying to find different ways where I can just like use these gifts that I've been given in like a sustainable way. Um, and there's some weeks that are better than others. And I'm also learning to like lean into those weeks that like aren't the best, so I can figure out, what is this teaching me, and what am I learning from this.
That's so powerful. I will talk a little bit more about your role in partnerships and the heart work that you're doing,
Yeah.
which I love because, like I was saying, it's very rare to be working at being in a role that is so fulfilling.
Yeah.
But as you are doing heart work outside of work, discovering parts of yourself, rediscovering parts of yourself, how is that? How is that like coming back to your overall like purpose and mission in life? How is that feeding you from a like, because you just talked a little about young Veronica was writing the prescription to ailments of today. So what are you cultivating potentially right now for the next phase?
I am cultivating like a revolutionary loving experience for the next phase of me. Um, and I made a video to my future self. Um, this was last week. I mean, I have nothing to do in my digital detox. I'm either reading or making videos to myself. And I was telling myself that like, I'm so proud of who you are, because who you are is who I am right now, just like exponentially better in a way. Um, and so I'm creating this like revolutionary self love for myself. And I'm laying such a strong foundation so that she, Veronica, I, her, me, we are unshakable. 10 years from now, I'm going to look back on this and say, you know what? She got it. Or I'm going to look back on it and be like, you had no idea what was to come.
Wow.
I just was touching the floor and not even the ceiling of like who I am. And I still think that. I feel like I'm not even like at the level of like my full expansion. Okay. Like I feel like I'm just touching it.
You are doing the work to bring your true authentic self to your everyday life, and it shows up in your style, that what you're wearing, it shows up in your home. That's why I love your home, and I wanted to do it here because I feel like it gives a little bit more context to who you are and just like the love that you exude.
Yeah. This home is curated in a way that's just like, it's for me. These photos back here are images of women in East Africa, and they represent the matriarchs in my family. And so when I see these women, I think of my grandmother. I think of my grandmother Elera. I think of my grandmother Irubo. I think of my grandmother Ihamok. I think of my aunt Veronica Lorya. Like I think of like all of these incredibly strong women who lived lives in a way that like liberated me to live this life. I also have photos of the first Ghanaian president. I actually, so the whole cohesion of this, it's called the Wall of Liberation.
Oh, wow.
And like spaces in which I am able to look at these photos and be like, wow, blackness is like free. And so, of course, I have the first Ghanaian president as Ghana being the first African country to be to express, not to express, but to be free from colonial rule, from Britain's rule. Britain didn't colonize.
The colonizers.
The colonizers, the OGs. I mean, I'm speaking to you in English for a reason.
Yeah, that's tea.
And so it's very important to just like have like symbolism of like freedom. And then I also have a photo of South Sudan and our liberation. Our Independence Day is July 9th, 2011, and where we seceded from the northern Sudan, and we're the youngest country in the world. And so having that like freedom is in that expression of freedom in my home is very important because that's just who I am. I'm South Sudanese. I also have a photo of Harlem Renaissance here, and like growing up Black in the U.S. It's also very important that there's parts of my culture and my identity that have roots in this country, and like so much respect to the Black Americans who have truly paved the way for not only liberation for all diasporic people to live in this country, but also to liberate Black people globally, whether it is from just like a mental space, or whether it's, you know, looking at what was done in the civil rights movement and wanting to emulate that in own said countries. And so for me, it was very important to have all those pieces of me in my home, because I'm a reflection of that.
I love that. I feel like you brought up freedom and liberation, and I think about how we can have more of that. And the fact that you've already kind of unlocked that in your home is like such a cheat code.
Yeah.
It's such a cheat code, like your space being not only like an actual space that you own, that you maintenance, that you keep, but it's also a space where you are free, that you build in these reminders of freedom.
Yeah.
And really like tying everything into your identity.
Yeah.
is such a, I talk about a little bit about how like the quickest way to like finding your style, or like the quickest way to feeling truly like confident is like knowing yourself. Being very self-aware with who you are, what you like, what you don't like, what you're going for, like your why. Like a lot of those things are super important. And I wanted to get your POV on why understanding your Blackness is important.
I mean, loving your Blackness is so important. Understanding the power in your Blackness is so equally important. Black culture has informed so much of not just fashion, but art, but design, but insert whatever avenue there is for any sort of creative expression. Black culture has been central to that. Black people have been very central to that. And so really appreciating just like the roots and where all that comes from has been really key for me in my own personal style, because that's just who I am. And like, how dare someone else try to influence who I am without being from like who I am. Like, no one is not like, you're not coming into my home and you're not South Sudanese, and and even if you were South Sudanese and you're being like, oh yeah, like I don't think you should wear jalabia. Excuse me?
Yeah.
Excuse me? Bye.
By the way, there was something you said, I was like, absolutely. Like, there's no like knowing and loving your blackness is where you get your power back.
Baby.
And Beyonce already told us, you
Find
will
our way back,
find your way
baby.
back. You will not take my power.
Okay.
Okay. And Beyonce's been doing a lot of reclamation now because this ain't Texas.
This ain't Texas.
This ain't Phaedra.
This ain't Phaedra. This ain't the Oscars, is it?
Oh my gosh. Listen, Beyonce in this country album, I know she's been sending people into a tizzy because
Absolutely.
she's reminding people that no, what you thought was yours was really ours.
Yeah.
Like in not in something that we can't share, but you're not gonna cut me out of this one.
Right. It's the audacity to fully express yourself in a way without needing the validation from other people. And I think once you unlock that,
Yep. You're unstoppable.
It hits different.
Yeah.
It hits different. And I'm not even saying I've fully unlocked it, but like being at the door.
Yep. With the key.
With the key.
With the key. Holding the key.
I'm at the door. You know, I got the key in my hand, and you know it's jingling. Yeah. And I'm getting ready to turn. And like even as I'm turning, like I can smell like the sweet smell of like the freedom. It's on the other side. And I'm not turning back. Like I've already committed to unlocking this. And that's been a hard first step to even get to that level of commitment. But now that I'm there, all right, let me go through.
Yeah. So much of like, and I think that's so much of like how you find your style, it's how you find yourself is committing to that journey, is saying, I owe it to myself to put time and effort into unlocking myself. Like truly unlocking my potential.
Yeah.
That's just so deep. I believe 100% we each have a purpose. We
Absolutely.
each were put on this earth to do something good.
Yes.
To give back.
Yes.
And yeah, I feel like it's so interesting because blackness has become a huge, it's always been a central topic, but it feels like we are not allowing blackness to just be a ornament or a something that you can just try on and then take off. Like we are acknowledging that Black history is American history.
Yeah.
That you're not going to erase us anymore, that you're not going to treat us like we are less than anymore. It's time for us to kind of reclaim our power and do it collectively and figure out ways by which we can unlock each other's potential.
Absolutely.
I feel like there's just something happening.
There definitely is. There's a shift happening. We are, and I don't want to get too esoteric. You know what I mean? I will take you to
take you to the moon.
I will take you to the moon. I'll take you to the moon. Take you to the stars. But I think, we are finally realizing, I think as a collective, that we no longer can be boxed in a way. And so even when you look at the universe in a way, the universe is constantly expanding, right? And we are expanding with the universe, meaning all the planetary bodies. And if we as human bodies in this planetary body that's expanding with this universe that's expanding only means that we are expanding. So when you realize that we are a physical manifestation of like the universe expanding in itself, then you're just like, oh wait, you are not about to sit here and tell me what I can and cannot do.
I want to double click onto the fashion industry right now because I feel like the fashion industry, there was a lot of chatter around diversity and inclusion when George Floyd was brutally murdered.
Yeah.
And we were going through a very horrific pandemic. and fashion brands were sort of retooling to lend help and be more open to diversity and inclusion and equity and access and building bridges. But it feels like the ones who came in hot and heavy are not really as loud as they once were.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels like there's been a shift, kind of maybe reverting back to old ways.
Yeah.
And I want to get your thoughts on that, or just in general, like what you've been seeing, from your end, not just at your brand, but in general, like
Yeah.
what's been happening?
I think, the intention always comes out
Mm,
in anything, right? Whatever intention you go in with it is going to come out in the wash and the rinse cycle. And I think what we're seeing is that, the brands that went with it with a more authentic perspective and said, look, yes, we've made mistakes, right? Um, and we are looking to learn from said mistakes. Um, and it may take us some time to course correct, but we are committed to course correcting. Um, those are the ones that I feel like are showing consistency.
mm,
Whereas there's other spaces where, yeah, it was a statement, and then that was just sort of it.
it was a press
It
release.
was a press, and that was just it, and there wasn't any like significant investments or anything like tied to it.
Mm,
um and so I too have found it very interesting that, like, in the industry, that there are some spaces um that went into it and was just like it was performative
yeah.
in a way. um but I do think that there has been a shift in fashion, period. And those brands that have gotten it right and they have showed their commitment to it, um, I think you see it in their results, right? You see it in how people are receiving
Mm-hmm.
them, because people are able to appreciate them more, and people are able to say, okay, yeah, this is actually authentic because we are now 3-4 years from when whatever press release or whatever they said happened, and we're able to tie actual results to that said commitment.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. But it's hard for me at times because I see I'll see like brands have they'll do their runway collection. They'll put up this black model or this plus size model or this you know disabled person. They'll start to put up diversity for, what feels like diversity for diversity's sake, instead of like changing internally
yeah.
how they are doing diversity. And it's just hard. I like always play around. Again, you brought up a really good word, performativity. Is when does performativity become authenticity? Because if diversity was never at the beginning of your brand's DNA, or if it wasn't something that the founder talked about, like how do you continue to how do you operate in authenticity, or at least try to operate in authenticity, when you know that it also works in your favor to show diversity? Like,
Yeah.
you can put all these models on the runway and say, yeah, like we're showcasing diversity, but then internally it's like, are you?
Mhm. Yeah. I think there's also brands that I feel like it's a two-part thing, right? Because there's some brands that are doing significant work internally, but don't necessarily want to always post, I'm doing this, I'm
Mm,
doing that, I'm doing this, um, because you don't want to applaud a fish for swimming in a
mm,
way. Um, I think brands having to sit with themselves and recognize, okay, yes, this was an issue, right? We could have been more inclusive in these spaces, or maybe, yeah, we were actually extremely exclusive in these other spaces. um But now that we know better, let's commit ourselves to doing better.
Yeah.
And let's commit ourselves to doing better with our employees. Let's commit ourselves in doing better with some of our systems and our processes. Let's commit ourselves to doing better with our clients, with our customers. Um, and let's
Wow.
also focus on being um, leaders and disruptors in this space. Um, and also recognizing that that is not going to happen overnight, because some of these things that we're up against is bigger than the industry in itself, right?
True.
It's hundreds and hundreds of years of systemic oppression that we are looking to course correct. And
It's gonna take some time.
it's going to take time, but that doesn't mean that, you know, it's impossible.
Right.
It just means that we just got to be committed to do the work. And it also means that we need to continue to hold not only ourselves but these brands accountable, to the beautiful words that they shared and all the investments that they said that they were going to do in these communities.
Yeah.
Um,
How did you get into fashion?
ooh, I in my current role, or like the love of fashion.
Both. I would
Okay.
love to hear both.
So in my current role, my present boss, she's incredible. She's one of the mentors who's really like, it's hard to articulate that. Um,
Being a good mentor, like how she's been a good mentor to you.
she has transformed my life and expanded um, possibilities of what I can become in a way that like I didn't think was possible. Um, it's very, I know it's cliche, but like she really saw something in me, and was committed to pouring into me. Um, and I started off as her intern um, at a competitive luxury conglomerate, and working under her and learning from her. Um, and um, uh, then being able to work for, work on other teams within the same conglomerate, and but still being able to like reach out to her for like resource and like help. Um, and then when she was appointed the role that she has now, um, the role that I have now presently, she recommended me for it, right? Because she knew my work. And
So good.
and one thing that I love about how she manages is that she managed, like there's some people who manage like this, right? And I feel like she manages like this in a way
Wow.
where like I'm just in the palm and like she's able to help guide my career. Um, and from that I've been able to flourish, and in this role like I'm able to work on um, projects and take on more responsibility, because I'm empowered to do so. um, and it's been so incredibly grateful to have not only mentorship and sponsorship from her,
Wow.
and to work on her team. And now we have an intern who joined our team who I'm working directly with. And I am like just trying, it's like I'm trying to use that same like Sankofa method of like giving back to her and pouring into her as I was poured into, with the hope that like she'll able to do that to the next person and the next person and the next person. So for her, I'm forever grateful. Um, Fashion has always been in my DNA.
Oh, speak on it.
My mom, um, and it's, you know what, it's so funny because my mom probably doesn't realize, like every time I talk about her I get so emotional. But we be on the phone talking and she probably never even like realizes like like the deep love that I have for her. She knows I love her, but like I love her down, down. Sometimes she can get on my nerves. Sometimes she can get on my nerves, but other times, most times, all the times, my love for her just like knows no bounds. And she was very central in how I got into fashion, and my love for fashion. After my dad passed away, my mom was a seamstress in Kenya. And so she took classes, and would make so many of our dresses and so many of our pieces. My mom actually made all of our outfits that we wore on the plane from Nairobi, Kenya to the United States. I still have my older sister's pants that I can still fit in, that I'll wear. And so, like, my mom she made my first Holy Communion dress. My mom made my graduation dress. One of my core memories, and here I go crying.
I was gonna say.
Here I go
Once
crying.
you started talking about this, I said, "Well, girl,
let me tell you something.
It's about time."
Mumsy is that girl. If I close my eyes right now, I'll go back to my childhood, and I hear my mom on her sewing machine, and I'm like, I'm a kid, and she just made chai with tea. So in South Sudan we'd say chai libna, or chai libin, or in proper Arabic chai halib. Not proper, but standard Arabic. All the Arabics we speak is proper. Correction. And I'm watching Little Bear on TV.
Oh, Little Bear.
And I'm just sitting there, and I'm hearing her make all these beautiful pieces and garments. And if I can go back and change one thing, is that I wish I would have sat with her and like watched her pour into her craft, because she is like, child, like that's where my mom finds peace. And like to learn from her, right? To be the daughter of a seamstress, and I can't even sew a button. Like, how am I supposed to explain that?
You have some explaining to do.
I got some explaining to do, because she put, full construction. Like, this was even one of her pieces that I took.
Come on.
And my mom can very much make this. And so it ties into like to go from that and to be the product of that to now working at like one of the top luxury fashion brands. I feel like it's the like best tribute I can make to my mom. And like I probably didn't learn how to sew a button, but I did take those threads of empowerment that you sewed in the fabric of my life. And I am hoping to make you proud, because you are my good girl.
She's already proud, Veronica. I can guarantee you that she's already proud. I mean, you are so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
First off, intelligent.
Thank you.
Okay, beautiful, intelligent. I wanted to say I love how you celebrate her. I love how you celebrate your mom, even giving her this moment to give her flowers. And I know you give her flowers all the time.
Yeah.
But it's just so good to hear it and see it and know it, that like you're fully living in your mom's threads. Like,
absolutely.
Like
I'm in her threads right now. Like
the threads are threading. They're coming through.
The threads are threading.
Like,
yeah.
It is beautiful.
Yeah. Look, if I had an infinite amount of money, right? Because child, God, I need you to speak that over my life.
Okay.
Because, baby,
I've seen what you do for others.
I've seen what you do for others, God. I've seen the way you if I can just touch the hem of the garment.
Yeah.
Okay?
talk. Ooh, stop! You got me.
If I could just touch
if I could
the
just
hell,
touch your feet.
if I could just touch, and get some coins, okay, like without taxes, because taxes.
You funny.
I would love to be able to give her the world. And what I've already know that I've been able to give her is a part of my world.
What is something that your mom did or does that you find yourself doing with in your style?
There's so many things. Like my mom used to always say that, like, like, make sure like how you dress is like almost like how you feel or something. And so like it's just like an expression of like you. And so I've been more like cognizant of just like how I show up in spaces and how like my style oftentimes reflects that. Honestly, something even as small as like sitting on my couch with my jalobia and having some chai is very mom coded.
Love it.
Like there have been times where I'll wake up in the morning, I'm, listening to jazz, whatever it may be. I'm looking out the window and I am in my jalobia. I'm having chai tea and I'm just like, ooh, yeah, my mom. Yeah. And so, but then also really reincorporating like traditional African cloth and pieces into my attire, and like doing so unapologetically. Like I've worn this beautiful like long vest that I got from Kenya to work, like, and I've gotten like some of the best compliments from you. Oh my gosh, like I love that, but it's like, yeah, this is like who I am.
Yeah, embrace that.
This is, yeah.
I love that. Double click on that. You literally just said something that made me think, like how you dress is is like a expression of how you feel, and like feeling is so much tied to your mood and your self-image and your confidence. Like, how have you navigated that?
What I've done is that, like, well, in my style, I've stopped caring so much about what other people would think so much about it.
Talk about it.
And that's something that, like, I mean, I was arrested by the thought of what other people would say about how I dress. And that's definitely something that, like, I've worked through in life. And now I'll wake up, I'll put this on, I'll go to the coffee shop and I'll say, you know what? Yeah, I feel good. I feel like wearing blue today with yellow. And that's just going to make me happy.
Yeah.
And I'm choosing to be happy today. And if I don't feel the best, I can sometimes look at myself in the mirror and say, "Ooh, Veronica, this isn't our best act. This really isn't it." And because I'm able to like see how it physically manifests in me, then I'm like, all right, what do we need to do? Like, what's going on here?
It's like a check-in.
It's a check-in.
Wow.
And my outfit is the door. And then when I come home and I sit with it and I'm meditating with it and I'm able to open the door, then I'm really able to sit with like where those negative emotions are like coming from and stuff. And so,
not your outfit being a gateway into your heart and your mind.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so powerful. Like using the tools of style and fashion to unlock your feelings and emotions, gaining that self-awareness. I wholeheartedly believe it. And I think we sometimes treat fashion as this thing that you just throw away, or like it has zero meaning or impact, and it's really just like thread. It's like, no, fashion is somewhat, it's like communication with, it can be an internal dialogue with yourself, it could be a dialogue with the greater world, it could be in dialogue with a certain particular topic. Like there's so much that fashion has the ability to do in how you are like engaging in the world. What are your thoughts just on where fashion is today?
I love the sustainability and fashion piece. And I love that sustainability has become such like a pillar in fashion now. It's so needed that like I think there was a while that like people thought that you can just like sort of like pillage through all these resources and there'll be no consequences, right? That like
Crazy.
we have this like endless amount of resources.
It's like that colonizing mentality.
Yeah, yeah, and like fashion and like even us as humans like almost adopted that as
Mm.
well. Where like you know you've heard where it's just like you can't be seen in an outfit more than once, or like you know I can't wear this ever again because I was pictured in it and I posted it on Instagram, and
Whew.
like it's just to me it's so
Ridiculous
ridiculous.
and
it,
wasteful.
it's so wasteful. A lot of people you know let's put like the fashion houses for a side, but like even as an individual basis, like very wasteful in how we consume fashion and style and
Mm.
clothing. Um, I've started to reduce the amount of things that I'm just like going out to buy, or if I am going to buy, like really interrogating, like, do I really need this? Um, One, because the economy is definitely not in a space that it's sustainable for me to be doing that. But like, do I have something in my closet already that like is similar to this?
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with having a uniform of things that I wear, and that's fine. Like I'm gonna have, you know, a plain white top, jeans, and I'm good, right? It's gonna
Mm.
look like I don't know if you've seen that meme of like Doug from the show Doug, where he
Yeah.
had like his outfits
Yeah.
and it had like all the same. I'm cool with that. Like that's if that's your style, like that's cool.
Yeah.
Also it reduces waste, but like I think sometimes and also vintage shopping.
Yeah. I love vintage. I love
I
thrifting.
love thrifting. Like going and like buying pieces. It's been gently used before and it's all right to wear it. I think that there was a point where like some people would even look down on that.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, no, I'm actually trying to be like very resourceful.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a lot of stigma with secondhand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then there's also, you know, there's some folks who have been, I haven't done it, but like renting pieces, like Rent the Runway has like gotten
Interesting.
very popularized now, where they do have the aspect where if like, you know, if you do like the piece, you can purchase it. Um, but like if you do want to wear a, you know, beautiful gown from let's say Valentino, whatever, you can wear it for whatever event that you have, moment, and then you can send it back. Um, and I think that's also being like economical, but you're also not being like wasteful in a
Mm-hmm.
way. And I think fashion brands are finally realizing that like as a society, more and more people are looking for ways to be less wasteful
Yeah.
because we're more woke to the state of our environment, the state of our planet. Um, and they're also checking their own internal supply chains and seeing like okay which ways can we reduce CO2 emissions, which ways can we make sustainable garments. Like upcycling is becoming really big
Yeah.
now.
I
um,
love upcycling.
I love upcycling.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really cool to see fashion take that shift.
Mm.
um, and I hope it continues on because we don't have an unlimited amount of resources.
We don't. And we already have so much out there,
Yeah,
right? That we could take and repurpose. Like you said, upcycling. That's one of the, I feel like that's one of the most fascinating things that I love to see. I love to see brands that have like established initiatives where they like collect trash or they collect
yeah,
like waste and then they reincorporate that into a luxury item.
yeah,
And that to me is like that to me is just so cool. I mean there's a lot of brands that are that's their core versus it's a line that they have, but like either way to me that is like that circularity. And when we
yeah,
start thinking about life, when we start thinking about fashion and relating it back to your life and it being so personal, circularity becomes so important because you start to think about, okay, well, what am I doing and how is it impacting the
Mm-hmm.
cycle
Mm-hmm.
that I'm a part of and that I willingly want to participate in. Like, we love clothes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't buy clothes.
Okay.
I love fashion.
Okay.
We love fashion.
Okay.
But like, there's so much more to fashion than just like it being a linear process where you just take and then waste. Like, there's a whole cycle to
Yeah.
it that you can really be. That's when the vintage comes into play.
Absolutely.
And like getting those vintage pieces that nobody else has.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. There's something that you mentioned. One thing that I really love is the whole Renylon campaign that Prada's doing, where it's taking ocean waste materials and being able to like repurpose it and recycling it into beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I love that hat.
Garments, right? Yellow's my favorite color, so I love this is my favorite hats. But like you're able to like see that upcycling in a way that's not only beneficial to the environment, but like also as a brand, it's also very profitable in a way too. Um, and so being able to see those two and two go hand in hand lets you know that like yes, this is possible, right? And then doubling down on additional initiatives where you are educating on like ocean life, etc. I think that is also very beautiful too, where it's like, okay, now we're just not taking from the bodies of water, we're also now educating people to make sure that like stays clean. Like, how do we protect marine life?
Yeah.
Like, I love that whole 360
Yeah.
view
Yeah.
on it. And something you said about vintage is so key to, because you'll get those pieces that nobody else has. And I actually want to give you a shout out because there's an outfit
Ooh.
that you had together, put together this past summer. I have my memory game. I got the memory of an elephant.
Oh, okay.
It was Sunday. We were on Tompkins. We were walking down, and I think I actually have a photo of you because I was like, he's too fly for me not to capture this.
I think I know what you're talking about.
You had on like army fatigue pants, right? Fire. Prada Thunder shoes.
Yeah, those are my favorite.
Fire, right? You had on the soccer jersey for the Atlanta team. It was yellow.
Yeah.
Fire. Then you had on Prada sunglasses.
Yeah.
Fire.
Fire.
And then you had on like a bandana on top, right? And like if you would have laid those out, anybody would have been like, oh, well, I maybe not see it. But the way you wore it and the confidence that you had with it, the photo that I have is of you crossing the street. And I'm just sitting there in awe of like, oh, the pieces are hitting.
Okay.
It's a Holyfield punch. Like the pieces were hitting.
They was holding their weight.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I feel like that's where, and thank you so much because I really do take pride in my style and finding pieces from the thrift store. I really do. I think that's where I get an immense amount of joy because I know that someone took care of this piece long enough so that I can now enjoy it. And it wasn't something that I had to, break my arm and leg to get, but that I can also give value to this piece.
Yeah.
And to your point, when I walk in it, it elevates these pieces. These pieces are not just pieces anymore. They're statements.
Okay, you said I am not fly. I am levitation. I am elevation. Like you did that. I'll send you the photo. I said, hold on. And I took it on a live setting. So I said, baby, people need to see that it moves like this in real life.
Okay. We share so much, like you said, a kinship.
Yeah.
And it feels just so deep.
Yeah.
And for not having my intermediate, my family bloodline here, I feel like family when I come around you and when I'm in your home and when we're out, like it feels so familial. And maybe in a past lives we were friends and our souls are now coming back together,
Yeah.
but it feels so good. And I just wanted to say I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy that you came on to share your story, because I feel like there are people who need to hear the words that you had to say so that they can too feel freedom and find
Oh,
themselves in this crazy world that we're in right now.
yeah. And I just want to thank you for even having this platform
Mm.
and like being able to like see you live your dreams is one of the most greatest gift anyone can give to like their friends, to like give them like a front row seat
Oh,
in your life and like your passion. And like similar to what I shared earlier about like wishing that I had that moment to sit next to my mom and like watch her live her passion, like I very much am like having this with you right now. And
yeah.
like who better than Gavon to have a platform where you can not only speak about fashion in the way that we can speak about fashion, right? It's
Right.
Paris Fashion Week right now. We could talk about what's coming down the runway.
Right.
Miu Miu show is tomorrow. Chanel. We can talk about the Dior's. We can talk about, whoever's collection that we're like very excited
Right.
for. And I think that is only like a slice to just like the bigger whole of what it is to have fashion, to style. It's a dialogue. And like, I'm just grateful to be able to have this dialogue with you, amongst others.
Yeah.
Life dialogues. We be up on that roof. Like,
Okay.
love dialogues. Like, thank you, my friend.
I'm gonna have to bring you back for sure.
Ah,
We're gonna
I would
have
love to
run
come
it
back. I would love to. I'm gonna run it back.
Listen.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Please subscribe, rate, and review this episode wherever you listen to your podcasts. Doing so helps grow the Right Hype community and helps me reach my goal to 1,000 listeners. Thank you. Peace out, fam.